He spent $800 to find a beautiful woman in Japan, but as soon as he entered the room, the woman made a strange request. She insisted that he tear her stockings. It would make things more fun, she said. This made the man feel really awkward. At 40 years old, he had no idea about such things, but he reluctantly prepared to do as she asked. Then, the woman suddenly pulled her legs back, fell to the floor, and screamed for help. He didn't understand what was happening. He tried to help her up, but she didn't stand up. Instead, she kept pulling on him. Suddenly, he realized, this might also be a way to make things more interesting. Japan really opened his eyes. The man's name was Bob. He was once a famous star in America when he was younger, but now, he's past his prime. Luckily, he was still well known in Japan. To make money, he had to come to Japan to shoot commercials. But he never got used to life in Japan. The people here seemed very short, which made the shower in the hotel feel too short for him. Every time he took a shower, it was uncomfortable. While shooting a whiskey commercial, Bob wanted to appear more gentlemanly, but the Japanese liked exaggerated expressions. After days of shooting the commercial, the director was never satisfied with his performance. He kept giving him instructions on how to act. For the 2 million yen commercial fee, Bob had no choice but to endure it. Even though the breakfast here was plentiful, he couldn't get used to it. He could only eat a little each time. Though Tokyo was bustling, he felt uncomfortable living there. So every night at 4:45 a.m., he always found himself sleepless. He wanted to watch TV, but it was always Japanese movies on the screen. He thought about hiring a woman, but the women here were strange too. The only place where he could relax was the 24/7 bar on the second floor of the hotel. That night, unable to sleep, Bob came to the bar again. That's when he saw a woman. She was also an American. Bob smiled and greeted his fellow countrywoman. The woman called the waiter and bought him a drink. Such a small encounter made Bob feel really happy. Not because he was interested in the woman, but because in this Tokyo where he felt no sense of belonging, he finally found someone to talk to. The next night, Bob couldn't sleep again. He went to the bar, but this time, he had some expectations. Sure enough, the woman came again, and sat right next to him. He learned her name was Kelly. Bob was curious. Why was such a beautiful woman also awake? It turned out, Kelly had the same sleepless reason as Bob. Because of her husband's work, she came to Japan, but her husband had to leave early every day for work, leaving her alone in the hotel. Bored, Kelly wanted to go out and explore, but she didn't know any Japanese, so she wandered around like a headless chicken. She followed the crowd off the train, and after a long walk, she found a tourist spot, but it turned out to be a temple. She saw a group of monks ringing bells, but she didn't understand what it meant. She didn't get religious matters. In Japan, Kelly felt no sense of belonging. She felt lonely inside. Until her husband came back that evening, Kelly wanted to vent to him, but her tired husband fell asleep right away, not talking to her at all. Feeling frustrated, Kelly couldn't sleep, so she went to the hotel bar. Two people with the same feelings ended up talking very happily. However, come morning, they went back to their lives of no belonging. Bob wanted to swim and work out, but he found someone in the pool not swimming, but dancing and working out. Kelly's husband had already left early, and she could only wander alone on the streets of Tokyo. By the evening, her husband came back, but it was still early, so they went downstairs to the bar together, and chatted with his friends. They talked about random things. Everyone seemed happy, but Kelly didn't know what to say. They had no common language. At that moment, Bob also came to the bar. Kelly excused herself to go to the bathroom, but instead, she came over to Bob. She wanted to talk to him, thinking it was more fun with him. Bob understood her better. Just a few words made her happy. Kelly wanted to stay with him a little longer, but she couldn't let her husband find out. Her husband didn't realize anything strange about Kelly lately. The next day, he had to go on a business trip, and would only be back on Sunday, leaving Kelly alone in the hotel. She felt disappointed, because she was left alone again, in this unfamiliar city. Feeling bored in her room, she went out again and coincidentally met Bob. At least Bob was there with her. The two talked for a while, and Kelly learned that Bob couldn't sleep either. She invited Bob to go out with her. Before they left, Kelly carefully put on makeup, and Bob changed into a new outfit to meet her. It felt like something was going to happen that night. Then Kelly took Bob to a music bar. It was a bustling place with flashing lights. Many young people who couldn't sleep came to drink away their sorrows. But for 40-year-old Bob, it was awkward. He couldn't fit in. He found an older man in the corner to chat with. Soon, Kelly noticed this, and they both left. They ran wildly down the street, as if they could escape Tokyo, but due to their own reasons, they couldn't leave for now. Tired from running, they arrived at Kelly's friend's house. They rested and chatted there, danced freely, and then went to KTV to sing. To the outside world, they looked happy, but after it all ended, they both felt incredibly lost. Luckily, they had each other in this strange, bustling city, but it still didn't feel like home. Back at the hotel, Kelly was already drunk. Bob had to carry her back to her room. Facing the drunk beauty, Bob showed the rationality of a mature man. He only tucked her into bed, dimmed the lights, and quietly left. Back in his own room, maybe to remind himself not to act out, he called his wife and expressed his love to her. But life without Kelly was so boring, he couldn't resist inviting Kelly out for dinner. While chatting, Kelly mentioned that she accidentally hurt her foot. The caring Bob insisted on taking her to the hospital. Then he waited outside quietly. After the check checkup, Kelly's foot was fine, but she was still touched by Bob's thoughtfulness. She too was trapped in the same situation as Bob. She could only look at her husband's photo, reminding herself she still had a loving husband. Their contact didn't stop. That night, they ran down the street again. At this moment, they really seemed like a couple, happy with each other's company, even in Tokyo. When they got tired, they went back to the hotel to rest, watched TV, had a drink. That night, they lay in the same bed, just chatting in bed, talking about everything, from life to marriage, wanting to say it all. The next morning, because of work, Bob went out early, while Kelly sat on the bullet train for a sightseeing tour. Bob participated in a comedy show, and the Japanese actors always had exaggerated expressions, and Bob could only act like them. This fake feeling, Bob didn't like. He missed the times with Kelly. At this moment, he felt incredibly lonely. The next day, after Kelly returned from her tour, she immediately went to find Bob for breakfast. Actually, neither of them liked the food in Tokyo, but they liked the feeling of being together. Time passed quickly, and Bob finished filming all the commercials. He would leave Japan tomorrow with 2 million yen. Kelly half-jokingly said, "Don't leave, stay here with me." Bob just smiled. Without answering, they each had a spouse, and the only thing they could do was to keep this memory in their hearts. On the way back, they didn't speak to each other, both reluctant to part. The next day, when Bob was leaving, Kelly came to see him off. They didn't say much, because they had already said goodbye last night. As Bob left, Kelly wandered alone again on the streets. At that moment, while waiting for the traffic light, Bob saw her. He got out of the car and chased after Kelly. He hugged her, then whispered something in her ear. Kelly was deeply moved. After that, they each went their separate ways, and the movie ended.